Pregame.com.
Welcome back to pregame.tv. We're going to take a look. New York Knicks, they go to Indiana. This series is knotted at one game apiece. All of the series were knotted at 1-1. We're taping on Friday, so obviously we don't know what's going on with the Friday night videos, or games, I should say, here as we're taping while they're playing. But, Ken, I got to tell you, and I know you're a big New York Knicks fan. You've let that be known, and you had to love that run you saw in Game 2 by the Knicks. And when I looked at the game and what I got from that game is obviously the Knicks, they were the wounded animal. Their life depended on it. You know, you go down 0-2 and have to go to Indiana, the series is over, basically. And they got what they needed to do. But everybody's going to look at that one section of the game, look at that big run, and say, you know, here's the Knicks now. But yeah, they played well, but as we said right before we went on the air, when it started to unravel for Indiana, you know, they were playing with house money. All they needed to do, their goal coming to New York, was get a split, and that's what they did.
They did that, and we saw the Knicks get a double-digit lead in the first half and squander that, got down to 5 by halftime. They were able to cover the first half only because Indiana missed 2 uncontested threes in the final minute. Also, in the third quarter, Indiana comes back from double digits again and ties the lead. In fact, takes a 2-point lead themselves, had that Garden uneasy. You could barely feel the air getting sucked out of the Garden. That's the pressure playing in New York. Home crowd is great when you're doing well. When you're struggling, look out. It can work against you. Then they went on a run, like you said, and I won't even call it a run because when I watch this New York Knicks team, they make me ill because they never run. I never see this team get out and run. At the end of the game, I watch half these guys walking off the court. Marco, they're not even sweating because it looks like a practice, you know, half the times. These guys, one guy with the ball, 4 other guys stationary, not even moving. I grew up watching Red Holzman's offenses, DeBusschere, Bradley, Frazier, Monroe, these guys going back and forth, motion offense, finding the open guy, getting the open look. These guys, yes, they can create their own shots, but we're seeing a lot of them that are having trouble create their own shots.
Yeah, well, the key to Game 2, and you can't expect it to happen again, but Indiana had 21 turnovers. Now, you know, did the Knicks defense cause that? Well, the Knicks generally don't play good defense, but they did play with a sense of urgency on, you know, Tuesday. Do they do that again here in Indiana? And can they do it in the hostile environment?
No, they can't do it in the hostile environment as far as I'm concerned. And if you look on the other side of the ledger, Knicks only had 8 turnovers for the game. That's a rarity to see them under double digits. So everything kind of went their way with about 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they just parlayed that lead up and up. And once it got to 15-16, I think that's where Indiana said, you know what, you're right. We got our split. Let's not kill ourselves trying to get a sweep. More than likely, we're up against it. We're running out of time. And the Knicks just continued that run. And so it looked uglier than it was. Remember, this was a 2-point Indiana lead with about 7 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Right. Last point I'll make before I kick it to you, since this is your free pick. Carmelo Anthony finally got off. You know, he had been in a shooting slump, and he went off in Game 2. We've seen it with shooters before, especially a guy like him, that whenever he starts to feel it, he can run together, 4 or 5 games where, he's putting up 30 and, and going off. Do you expect him to continue the shooting, or was this just, a one-game, situation?
Well, dude, Melo and J.R. Smith, to me, actually seem more relaxed on the road at times. Again, it is tough to play in front of that Garden crowd because they're expecting you to win, especially when you finish as the number 2 seed. You beat out Indiana for that mark, had a big game against Indiana in the final week of the season, won at 90-80, was an ugly game, but they got the W, and that solidified the 2 seed. So the crowd is expecting them to do well. I don't know. Indiana's a tough environment, and they've always played the Knicks very, very tough in the playoffs, especially at home.
Well, you know what? This is your official free play, so let's make it official.
You got it, Marco. And it is my official free play here on pregame.tv. And yes, I'll root from my heart, for the Knicks. I hope the Knicks win the series. Do I think they're going to win Game 3? No, I do not. Do I think they're going to cover Game 3? Not even close. I think Indiana wins this game by 10 to 12 points. I think they win it going away. 33-11 at home. They didn't play their best ball down the stretch, but that's after they already settled into the 3 seed. There were a couple games they lost at home that they really didn't need. Paul George is a key. There is no doubt. If he shoots it well, they're going to do well. George Hill shot it well in Game 1, struggled in Game 2. DJ Augustine, I like the way this kid comes off the the bench, the young kid out of Texas, 4 of 5 from behind the arc in their last confrontation. Meanwhile, Lance Stevenson, he needs to be active on the glass, especially on the offensive glass. That helps out Hibbert down low. And David West, I don't know what gym he's going to, but this guy looks like he's ready to take out Hulk Hogan anytime, and he's got that jump hook working. I think the Indiana crowd, everything comes into play here. J.R. Smith has been atrocious, 26%. How about 7 of 30 in this series? And I think he's got 2 3-pointers in 14 attempts. I mean, it's absolutely ugly. Yes, Melo had a nice game if you look at the entire box score, but if you look at when this game was close, he wasn't really doing that well. Got a lot of those points in garbage time, and garbage time is when the Knicks had that lead up late third, early fourth quarter, 14, 16 points. Melo was knocking down shots. Why? Because there was no pressure on him. He's great when he's in that position. So I'm going to look at Indiana to win this game again, right around double digits. I think they get it done. I think it's close for a while. I think the Knicks hang in there for the first quarter and a half, but Indiana pushes it out. They get the win. They dominate the boards. Knicks are in trouble. I know Stoudemire will be back for 10 to 15 minutes. Will that help chemistry-wise? Don't know. Can't hurt on the glass because Chandler's getting beat up physically, and he needs to have a big game. But I like Indiana. That's my play right here on pregame.tv. Take the Pacers in Game 3 at home.
All right, great stuff there from Ken. And for Ken to go against his Knicks, you know he likes Indiana. We're going to be right back. We're going to shift gears. We're going to move to Sunday. We've got baseball up next. We're going to take a look at Baltimore at Minnesota. That's up next, pregame.tv.